Welcome to the Friday Happy Hour with victory strategist, award-winning author and your happy hour host, Annmarie Kelly. Each week, Annmarie chats with women who have reinvented, started over or wrote fabulous next chapters. They share how they overcame their midlife challenges and how you can too. So kick back with some good happy hour something to drink and enjoy today's show.
All of my friends tell me that I'm the good girl, yes they do. They all see me as being so perfect, little Miss Goody Two-Shoes. 'Cause I do something a little risque, and they all gasp and I just say, good girl, wanna get crazy sometimes.
Hi and welcome. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour with me, Annmarie Kelly, and I'm that recovering good girl and your victorious woman empowerment partner. And this is where us victory chicks and you guys who love us meet on Fridays to chat about things we can do to make our lives better and more fulfilling and give us a little more jazz and sparkle. I'm glad you're here today. And one of our Friday Happy Hour friends is joining us today, too. It's elder care attorney and author Cathy Sikorski. You remember she was here before talking about her newest book, Who Moved My Teeth. We'll be talking about some things that you need to know for your parents and for yourself, too. And you know Cathy, she and I always get into a little trouble when she's here. But we'll see what happens today, so stay tuned. I'm glad the sound on the show got fixed from last week. Wasn't that crazy? You know, I heard a buzzing in my ear when I was talking to you, but I didn't know you heard it too. So it was like the station's airwaves had severe allergy voice. And you let me know. A couple people emailed to say it was all static, and they turned me off. Now, you know me. I'm about turning people on. So that they turned me off just was like, oh, geez, really? Well, I'm guessing it was all part of Mercury retrograde's special treat. It was the end of Mercury retrograde, and now it's direct, so we're better now. However, what you didn't hear last week was probably didn't hear it was what I said about Barbara Bush, my Barbara Bush connection. I wrote about it after Mrs. Bush passed away, and I talked about it here. And I don't want to repeat it today, but I did post it on my website at 5yearmarriage.com, and I posted a link to it on today's radio wrap-up at victoriouswoman.com. And I'm not positive that the wrap-up is up yet, but it'll be up by later today. Well, we finally got spring. I actually went out this week without a coat or even a light jacket. I was like, yay! And Joseph and I got a couple of walks in, too. So that's good to take off that winter weight. Well, it won't be long before we're on the beach and getting a little sand between our toes, right? In fact, I was on Facebook this week and I noticed there are a couple people who are already making some short day trips and weekend trips to, you know, their favorite beaches, Seaside Heights and Avalon and Wildwood and Cape May. And that nice weather is what Joseph thinks is the reason we had so much traffic yesterday. Were you part of that? I couldn't believe it. I thought it was just me getting stuck. Because I had a meeting in media at 5:30, and Route 1 was terrible with traffic. So I ended up showing up for my meeting late and thought I was going to be the only one. Almost everyone else was late, and everyone was talking about the traffic. Well, on my way there, I had been listening to the news, and they said traffic was heavy going into the Phillies game and the Penn relays. So I thought that's what it was. But then, when I got home, Joseph said he had the same thing happen to him coming home from his office in Wayne, opposite direction. And he said every single one of his massage clients said that they had traffic all day long getting to their massage. And, you know, Joseph's clients know he starts a massage on the hour and ends 55 minutes later. If you show up late, it's time off your massage. So his clients usually get there early because they want all their time. Well, if you were out and about yesterday, I'll bet you were in that traffic too, and there was really no good reason for it. I checked online. I didn't see accidents, nothing. So you know what I think it was? Aliens. You know, I think the aliens are messing with our atmosphere. Yep. It's something that could be a plot line on the X-Files. Or maybe you remember it, that old show, The Twilight Zone, which, by the way, is still on. You can still catch it on, I don't know, some old station. So it was like, do-do-do-do-do-do. All right, okay, back to the real world here. I and my committee are working on this year's Girlfriend Gala, and I have news. I know some of you watch Good Day Philadelphia on our local Fox affiliate, Fox 29. So Weather Girl Sue Serio, anchor Mike Jarek, and reporter Jen Frederick. And she's the one who does some of that fun, crazy stuff. And guess what? She's also the one that's going to be our speaker this year at Girlfriend Gala. I'm so excited. I was on the bill with her a couple years ago at Edgemont Country Club, and it's good stuff. So Jen Frederick is going to be my special guest for Gala this year, and doing the comedy is a Girlfriend Gala favorite, Teresa Hummel-Kralinger. So if you want tickets, get them now while they're still in the early discount. The date is June 6th, and it's at Penn Oaks Golf Club from 5:30 to 9:30. And of course, I'll have that information on today's radio wrap-up, too. And I promise you'll have fun. And our guest, Cathy Sikorski, Cathy comes, and so does Donna Cavanaugh. And you remember Donna, too. But I want to share this thing with you that happened, something about booking Jen Frederick. It's like a weird thing. The Fox 29 people only just confirmed Jen Frederick this week. Or it was the end of last week. And because I think she'll be fun at the Girlfriend Gala, I was really excited about about telling people, and so I was blabbing it to everyone, including to a woman I was with at a meeting with on Monday night. And I was talking about the gala, and I was telling this one woman about booking Jen Frederick, and she didn't know Jen. So I said, well, she's the reporter on Good Day Philadelphia, our local Fox 29 station. To which she raised her eyebrows, laughed, and in a voice resembling a cautionary tale said, "Oh, I don't watch Fox, anything Fox." Now listen, I know some people hate cable Fox News, so I assured her, this isn't the cable show, it's our local Fox network, right here in Philadelphia. Undaunted, she affirmed, "No, I don't watch anything Fox." And she was proud of it, and I was a little stunned. Now, most of you know Fox 29 is the station with The Simpsons, Glee, the original American Idol show, and I like to watch A Good Day Philadelphia. And it's different from the cable Fox. And I understand that some people watch mostly cable TV, and some Fox News is the devil, while MSNBC and CNN are the voice of truth and reason. And that's okay. I know one woman who lives and dies by MSNBC's Rachel Maddow. And that's not my interpretation. Those are her exact words. And that's her prerogative. And she's a wonderful woman. However, in the kind of education I had, and it was a Catholic education, I learned to be open to all ideas. I know it's sort of counterproductive to the whole Catholic education thing, but it was. I was taught by Notre Dame nuns, what can I tell you? So when it comes to the news, I flip channels. I want to know all the sides of an issue. And a lot of times I have a gut reaction to something, but, though I'm pretty smart, there are people who are better at those things and smarter at them than I am. So, I want to hear what they have to say. Then I formulate an opinion. Like this week, oh my gosh, every station was covering Kanye West's tweets, first supporting the black conservative commentator Candace Owens, and then supporting Donald Trump. And man, he got a score. Some people praised him, but some people just trashed him up one side, down the other, and all these people left his Twitter feed. Well, I looked this morning, and he still has about 28 million followers, so, I don't think a million or two less was actually going to matter to him. But, it seems like too many people on every side are just digging in their heels on their view. And if someone has a different opinion, they need to be disgraced or demonized or whatever it takes to shut them up. And that's how I felt with the lady on Monday night. I was so excited about Jen Frederick from Fox 29 being my special guest at Girlfriend Gala. And it seemed to me that she was just hell-bent on stealing my joy. To me, all she did was make herself look close-minded. But that seems to be the cultural playbook these days. Don't expose yourself to anything that might be different from your personal opinions or anything. And now, I heard this. I can't even believe it. James Corden was talking about it. He did a little bit on it, and he about how that some colleges have crying rooms so that their students can go and if they need a good cry. Seriously, now. I thought crying rooms were the place in church where parents go with their babies so that if the babies cry, they don't disturb the other people in church. And James Corden he was having a good time with it. And he was saying, in the real world, if you want to have a good cry, you're going to have to go to your car. Now, it's in his own way, so I'm just repeating the gist of it. That you'll have to go to your car and then have a good cry, and then by the time you finish, you're going to have to be finished in time to go back to your job. I can't even figure it out. And the scary thing to me is these crybabies in college will become the adults who will be our caregivers when we get old. And that's why we need to bring Cathy Sikorski to the happy hour every once in a while. Because she's the authority on that kind of stuff. She doesn't just tell you how to take better care of your parents. She's telling you what you need to do to protect yourself for now and for your future. So, everybody stick with me. Cathy's going to be here in a couple of minutes. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll be here with Cathy Sikorski. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour. Remember when you wished you had more time for yourself? And now you have it, but you notice you're keeping busy with stuff, but that stuff isn't making you feel happy or filled up? And when you think about what would make you happy and filled up, you get stuck or feel overwhelmed. And then you go back to what's more familiar, more comfortable, even if it's not making you happy. Wouldn't you love to find a way to start making sense of that deep discontent you're feeling? Well, you're not alone. I'm Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. And I know there's a place for you, one that other women have found to be both inspirational and empowering. And it's the Victorious Woman Project. Go there now and get on my mailing list, where you'll be the first to know about my upcoming online workshops, teleseminars, and more. And while you're there, take a couple minutes to look over my blog. You can download some of the free stuff I have for you and let it get your creative juices going. I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Victorious Woman Project. And that's at www.victoriouswoman.com. Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and we're here with our friend Cathy Sikorski. Hi, Cathy. How are you today?
Hi. I'm great, Annmarie. Always fun to hear your voice. I'm so excited to be with you. I love Fridays with you.
Me too, Cathy. And I'm really sorry that you're not here right at the station because when you're here, we usually go out and have our own little happy hour afterwards.
Yeah, we do. But I got a surprise visitor. My daughter decided to come home for the weekend, and you know how exciting I am about that. But it's so far away. I have to take it when I can get it.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. I understand that completely. Say, Cathy, I know you were here during the monologue, and I was talking about these kids I can't even believe these crying rooms in colleges. Do you believe that?
Well, what a dubious honor that was the way you introduced me. And this is why we need to talk to Cathy.
Well, you know what I was thinking? We need to set up our wills and our powers of attorney and all that kind of stuff so that they know exactly what we want because, geez Louise, I don't know if we could trust them, huh?
Well, what you said was these are the people who are going to be taking care of us in our nursing homes. And I say that to people all the time. You know, when you're raising your children, could you please think about the fact that they're going to be taking care of us in the nursing home? And we'd like them to have, a bit of sense. We'd like them to be compassionate. We'd like them to have some common sense issues resolved. Yeah, I know. It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah. When I hear stuff like that, I think so. But you know, Cathy, go ahead.
Annmarie, I was just going to say, do you think our parents said that about us?
No, because we're all really responsible.
They didn't think that, Annmarie.
No, I don't. But you know what I always think, and even from the time that I was teaching school, and I was really young when I started teaching, so I was never more than about 10 years older than kids that I taught, and I went back to an 8th grade reunion that they invited me to, and I thought, it's having kids. Kids end up being the great leveler because most times even if you're irresponsible before you have kids, once you have kids, like something different changes in your psyche.
Yes, that is true. I certainly agree with that. What would be interesting to me is, Annmarie, if you remembered those kids, they were your 8th graders. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was teaching them when they were in 4th grade.
Oh, okay. So they were your 4th graders, but
Yeah.
It would be so interesting to me what you thought about them when they were little kids. Like, oh my God, this kid's going to be in jail, or oh my God, this kid's going to be president of the United States. Like, did they end up being the kids you thought they were going to be?
That's a great question, Cathy. There was one that I really did think was going to grow up and go into politics and be and could have been president. I really did think that could have been possible. He didn't, but that. But when he was in school, he was that smart and he was that savvy in 4th grade. But most of them, most of them I thought, even I taught 4th and 5th and 7th grade, so most of them were, I would say, they were regular. You just presume they were going to go on and do interesting things with their lives, not necessarily be famous, but they were good people. Most of them,
right.
Most of those kids were good people. But I don't know if I ever told you this story, and I don't know if my listeners ever heard me tell this story, but one of the reasons why I started my own business was because one of the kids that I taught in 7th grade, he was such a cute guy, but he was part of the crowd. That year, I had really good kids except for like one little crowd of about 10 people. And that year I had the cops at my door 3 or 4 times because they were drinking on their lunch hours and stuff like that.
Wow.
And this kid was really really smart. And when I was, I left teaching and I went into, at that time, I was teaching in the corporate university I created for the Better Homes and Gardens affiliate, and I found out that he died. And he died of a drug overdose on a living room floor in Upper Darby. And I thought, how did that happen? And he had a rough childhood, but a lot of people, including me, have had a rough childhood. And I thought, why did that happen to him and not to so many other people? What was the difference? And that really was the nut that I cracked to start my own business.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's so funny how something like this happens or that happens, and it spurs you on to do something different.
Yeah, it really stuck with you. Isn't that interesting?
Well, he was really a special kid.
Yeah, so what we really should do is ask your 4th graders, what did they think Miss Kelly was going to be when she grew up?
That would be an interesting one. That's good. So listen, Cathy, you're an elder care attorney. What is that exactly?
That's a really good question, because the first thing I want to tell you is what it is not. An elder care attorney is not an estate attorney. And actually, an elder care attorney can do estate matters, and a lot of them do, because quite frankly, many of us started out as estate attorneys. And estate attorneys, as blunt as this may sound, elder care attorneys really deal with live people, and estate attorneys deal with dead people. It's kind of as simple as that, because estate attorneys, although they deal with planning for estate, so planning for when you die, what would you like to do with your estate? Let's plan for things that we can do, where you want your things to go. Do you want to include a charity if you have a lot of money? Stuff like that. Do your wills, very good things. And then when someone passes away, an estate attorney will make sure that all of those wishes are carried out, pay the inheritance tax, do the inheritance tax return, make sure the income tax returns are taken care of, all of those things. But that is not an elder attorney. What an elder attorney does is helps you take care of things with you or your elders for now while you're alive. So talks to you about Medicare issues, about Social Security, about planning for what happens if you go into a nursing home. What is that going to cost you? Can we do some planning around that to make sure you have money and your spouse has money, and things that can happen to you while you're alive but are typically what we think of as elder issues. That's the difference. So even though you have kids and you think, well, my kids will take care of me, that's not the best. Yeah. That's not the best way to handle that, huh? Absolutely not, because your kids, they're wonderful and they'll take care of some things. Maybe they'll take you to the doctor and maybe they'll read your I doubt it, but maybe they'll read that 500-page book that comes when you're 65 years old, when you get to choose your Medicare plan.
Oh, and my mother used to get that. I used to get nuts.
Right? Aren't they horrible?
Oh, my God. They were horrible.
Aren't they horrible? And your kids won't do that because it'll make them insane, They'll
do exactly what I did. Kathy, when my mother used to get it, I used to look at it. I used to, do a quick, and then it went right in the trash.
Yeah, because it's horrifying.
It is.
Although, as an aside, I hate to take us off track, but the beauty of Pennsylvania is every single county has an apprise counselor, APPRISE, usually with your senior center or aging and adult services. Some of us in our counties have 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 of them. And those people are free to talk to you about what Medicare plan would work best for you. It's a wonderful opportunity. So I highly recommend that.
You've talked about that before, Kathy, and I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
And we'll do that again maybe during open enrollment, at the end of the year when it makes everybody crazy. But for now, your kids are great. But when you're older, you're in your 60s, maybe 50s, but definitely in your 60s, you should take the time to see an elder care attorney. Make sure that your legal documents are correct. And you know how crazy I am about that, Annmarie, because there's special things in our legal documents that need to be there in order to protect us when we have these nursing home and expensive health care issues, so that one spouse doesn't end up destitute. So that's why you need an elder care attorney and your kids to help you. And
you know what, Kathy, and we're going to need to take a break, but when I was going through this with my mom, I had really a lot of conversations with her. We did see an elder care attorney, but also because at the time when her sister died, and some other things happened, even just over my father's passing, I would say, well, Mom, what do you think about this? So I had a really good sense of what she wanted, but
nice.
It was only because I had those conversations. My siblings didn't know because they didn't have those conversations, and she didn't put it in writing. So it was really up to whether I was going to be a good daughter or not, or whether I had the capability of doing what she wanted or not.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So listen, everybody stay with us. We're going to take a little break and then we'll come back. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour. Hi, this is Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. I trust you're enjoying my conversation with this fabulous, victorious woman. If you're getting inspired with ideas and feeling empowered, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more for you. Tips, downloads, resources at the Victorious Woman Project. Go to victoriouswoman.com and look around and get on my mailing list so you can be the first to know about the newest good things I have for you. That's www.victoriouswoman.com. Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and we're here with Cathy Sikorski. We're talking about elder care. And Cathy, who really needs to get an elder care attorney? And when I find one, what can I expect to happen?
For my money, everyone who's 50 or older should have already thought about getting an elder care attorney. You really should go to talk to somebody because you should do some planning right now. Being prepared is always going to be better than being in a crisis, right? You know that.
Sure.
And what was your other? I'm sorry, Annmarie. What did you say?
When I see one, and what can I expect when I go to see one?
Oh, great question. So they're going to talk to you about probably the essential documents. So it would be a financial power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, and just the 30-second definition of a power of attorney. This is a document where you give the power to someone else who is now called your agent to act as if they are you, so they can do financially everything they could do that you could do. They could sell your house, sell your car, buy investments, close your bank account, open a bank account. So it's a very powerful document. Number one, choose wisely. Choose your agent wisely. But number two, you need this in case anything happens to you if you become disabled. And a healthcare power of attorney is obviously the same concept. You choose someone to act as if they are you to make healthcare decisions for you. And that doesn't have to be the same person. You might have a great person who's financial and a different great person who's, good with healthcare. Then they're going to want to talk to you about your will, and they're going to want to talk to you about your probably a living will, what we call a living will or an advance directive, which is that document that you use in case you get into a permanent vegetative state and you want to let them know what to do. So bluntly, Annmarie, that's a pull the plug or don't pull the plug document.
Yep.
So those are the sort of beginning things that they're going to talk to you about. And then they're going to want to talk to you about, how do your finances work? How does your money work? Because if you're married, especially if you or your spouse gets into a situation where they're going to need nursing home care, how are you going to pay for that? And how can we plan to make sure that the person who doesn't need it has enough money left to survive? So those are the kind of important issues that they'll discuss.
Now, Cathy, you know that you and I have talked about this, and it's such a bug in my head. From the first time when I was first reading Who Moved My Teeth, and I saw this, and you talked about it here at Happy Hour. Mm-hmm. What happens if? And I think this happens with a lot of women that maybe they were stay-at-homes or they stay-at-home moms, or they didn't start they had a career and then they took a little break and they came back, and what's in their 401k or their IRA isn't as much as what's in their spouse's.
Right.
And that's a problem. Could you explain that?
It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so typically, especially in our age group, let's be honest, but it's also true for women in their 40s, women, I just found this article. I'm going to pass it on to you after we hang up here, but it's called 10 reasons, women are financially in a worse place than men. 10 facts about women in retirement, and it's just about things like this. But this particular one that you asked me about is many of us step out of the workforce to have children, to take care of sick or aging parents, because our husbands change jobs and we move, things like that. And we are often, in fact, most of the time with less money in our retirement accounts, or we don't even put our salaries in retirement because our husband is putting his salary in retirement.
Yeah, we think,
we're
partners.
To live off of,
yeah,
right?
We're partners. We're good.
Which is right. It's a plan. And honestly, and I'm even talking in a very good marriage. That's fine. That's a great plan. But the problem is the nursing home system, the system set up for health care. If your husband gets very, very sick and goes into a nursing home situation, and this is happening to women in their 80s, 70s, and 80s, all of that money that is in their husband's IRA is not considered joint money. That's considered his money to pay for his care, and you are not allowed to have it to live off of. And all of a sudden, you have no money.
It shocks me that that's the case, but since the first time you talked about it, I was devastated by it. Not devastated, but just stunned by it.
Now, the complexity of it is, and a good elder attorney will actually tell you this. If you go early, they can look at your finances and say, you start to need to move some around to protect your spouse. If you're in a crisis situation, you still might be able to do that depending on how much money you actually have. But there is also in a super crisis situation where your husband has completely stroked out, he's never coming home, he's in a nursing home, the legal ramifications do allow the spouse to have certain minimum amounts of money, and that can in fact be even, increased, but you need a good elder lawyer who understands the complexities of this so that basically they can help you get as much as you can to live off of, because once it's established that this is how much, your spouse needs to be in the nursing home and this is his money, it's very hard to fight it retroactively. So this isn't there a time frame, like 5 years or something? Well, that 5-year look back is a whole other problem that is sort of not really within this, but can be. Yes, if you start moving money, because you're in a crisis situation, you're not going to get away with that. Let me just put it that way. There are ways to do things, lots of legal ways, but the earlier you plan, the earlier you look at it, and this is something we can, as women can look at right now. We as healthy women with healthy spouses can say, wait a minute, my husband does have all the money. We've got to figure out a way to balance this, to balance our finances so that I am not left destitute.
Yeah, it's such a shock, and I've seen that, and you know, I do some work with, I've done some work with Home of the Sparrow, not work with them, but they've been our beneficiary for the Girlfriend Gala a couple of times, and that whole idea, a couple years ago, they had a 50-plus care program for women who are in that 50 to 62 age group who have that's exact situation that you're talking about, and then they were going to have to sell their houses because they couldn't even afford to keep the house and pay the taxes and all that kind of stuff. And Home of the Sparrow stepped in and said, didn't step in, but they have a program that enables you to bring women, it's for rent in your home, to rent room.
Right.
So that
rent space in your house so that you can keep your house.
Exactly.
Well, and let me just tell you, there is even a glitch in this whole long-term care system that if you sell your house, the proceeds from that could also be considered money for your husband for the nursing home.
Wow.
So you wouldn't even get to keep all the money.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, so it's really important for my listeners to go and find a good elder care attorney. And how do you find one of those, Cathy?
Well, there is a it's called a CELA designation, CELA, which means Certified Elder Law Attorney, Certified Elder Law Attorney. And I'm going to tell you guys right up front, I don't have that. And it's because the requirements, need you to have a certain number of clients over a certain period of time. And I, as you know, Annmarie, started to move my practice from personal clients to educating people. And that's largely what I do. Not only do I refrain from taking personal clients, but my family and friends don't believe me, so they keep coming to me. And I'm perfectly, able to help them. But a certified elder law attorney is a designation that requires them to have done, a certain amount of practice, have a certain amount of educational hours, and all of those things. And it's a great starting point. And the other thing you can do is you can call the local bar association, which is free to call them, and they will send you to a elder lawyer. They know what you're looking for, and they will send you to someone who is, in fact, an elder lawyer, as long as you ask for the right thing and not an estate lawyer.
Are there any things, Cathy, that we if we go to an elder care attorney, you're saying an elder law attorney, so
yes.
If you see, is there something that we should be careful of? Like, are there any red flags that you can tell us about if we talk to an elder law attorney?
I mean, Annmarie, unfortunately, in every area of expertise, there's always going to be people who you don't think are doing their clients the best service. But I would say if they're certified, chances are pretty good you're going to get exactly what you need. I'm also going to say, which doesn't really answer your question, but it's important for me to put it out there. People are afraid to go to elder lawyers because they think it's, quote, expensive, unquote. You know what I mean? They think that doing these planning documents or doing some of this major financial moving around and planning and things like that. And by the way, they should work with your financial advisor. Elder attorneys are not allowed to and are not financial advisors. We don't handle your money, okay? We're not allowed to handle your money. We can either be lawyers or we can be financial advisors, but they made a rule some time ago ethically that we are not allowed to do both. So keep that in mind. But nonetheless, I'm going to tell you that what might seem to you to be expensive, if you're asking someone to come in at a crisis in time and do some major work to consult with you and your financial advisor to move funds around, to make sure that you are protected, to make sure that your spouse doesn't, pay all of the money into the nursing home, et cetera, et cetera. You're talking about months and months of work, as well as lots of legal paperwork, and also dedicated time, and it can run into the thousands of dollars. But let me put that against the cost of a nursing home, which right now in Pennsylvania averages about $10,000 to $12,000 per month.
Wow.
So if you spend $10,000 for good, high-end, and I'm talking about emergency crisis planning, not to just get some documents done, that should never cost that much money. But if you're doing some high-end, long-term, 9 or 10 months of work with this person, be aware it's because they're trying to save you from paying $10,000 or $12,000 a month and depleting your savings completely. That is not the kind of cost you should have to just do documents. If you're just doing documents, it should be a much more reasonable fee.
Yeah, and it is, and I know that the attorney who did the ones that I have, that Joseph and I have, he was very reasonable, and all the documents. Now I will tell you that I was thinking about it recently and thought, I think we need to update our will. But our power of attorney, I think, is still, we still feel the same way now that as we did a couple of years ago when we did those. But what you're talking about is a whole nother thing. It's about the financial aspect.
I am. Yes, I am. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this person needs to know about those things. That's how you'll know if you have a real elder attorney. And they don't have to have a CELA. That's not required. I mean, there's lots of us out there who know lots of this information. But a general practice attorney often will not understand the fine-tuned ramifications of what needs to be in your power of attorney, what needs to be in your basically your power of attorney, really, what needs to be looked at with your financial advisor. They're not going to understand that because everyone doesn't understand how that nursing home thing kicks in. Just like that thing you asked me about women with their IRAs and their husband's IRAs. A lot of general practice attorneys don't know that. They do not know that. Yeah,
that's true. And, Cathy, my mother and I saw an elder law attorney at some point because there was some fraud in my mother's experience with one of my siblings, and that was the reason we went to. And that's when I really understood. Someone suggested that we see an elder law attorney, and it was such a good thing because it helped my mother to understand. In fact, what was very interesting, Cathy? We went together, and the attorney took my mother aside into a room by herself, and her purpose was to make sure that I wasn't coercing my mother.
I love that, and I tell that to people all the time. I loved it too. If, in fact, the attorney takes your mom or your dad into the room alone for a while, do not get offended by that. That is exactly what I would recommend that they do, because I want to make sure that my client, who is your mother, understands what she's doing. This is what she wants to do. And then when you come in and say, yes, Mom, we talked about this, I'm okay with that because Mom told me of her own volition without you pressuring her, in the room,
right.
That this is what we're going to do. I think that's wonderful. That's a great story.
Yeah, I really liked it too. Cathy, we need to take a break. So when we come back, there's a couple other things I want to chat with you about. So if everybody would hang in there with us, we'll be right back. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour. Are you one of those women who lived the first part of your life as a really good girl? That is, you did all the right things and followed all the so-called rules for women? I was like that too. But have you noticed that once you passed 40, you have less patience for those rules? Maybe you even think that the rules really don't make sense for you anymore. Maybe they never did and you just didn't realize it. Do you want to go where other recovering good girls meet to inspire each other and support their new empowered selves? Then join me, Annmarie Kelly, and some very fabulous Victorious Women. We're on Facebook at the Victorious Woman Project. So go to facebook.com/Victorious Woman Project. I'll talk to you there. Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm here with Cathy Sikorski. And Cathy, we're talking about all this elder law stuff. And here's one of the things that I think I see way too much of this. I think it's one of the biggest problems that we face in taking care of our aging parents. And that's that there always seems to be one kid who, let me say this in the kindest way I can, doesn't want to grow up and still thinks mom and dad should be supporting his or her lifestyle. So they keep asking mommy or daddy for money, and worse, if mom or dad doesn't want to give it to them, find ways to take it from them. Right. And, how is it that you can... is there anything that we can do with our parents or for ourselves? It could be our kids doing it to us.
Sure.
How do you protect...
All, when you and I talked about it, I love that you called it a vampire sibling. Because I thought, well, maybe we could just put garlic around mom's neck and then, the sibling would stay away. But the truth of the matter is, there's stuff you can do, but there's two components to this, isn't there? There's the practical component, which is obviously make the child who is not the vampire sibling, if you have another one, if you're fortunate enough, to be in charge, to give them the financial power of attorney and that basically takes away all the other siblings' access. You can just take mom's checkbook or take dad's, checkbook or whatever, and that child won't be able to get that. Short of driving mom or dad to the bank, they're not going to be able to do that. But the problem is that the practical side is probably easier to fix, where you say, Mom or Dad, I'm in charge now, and if they say, okay, things will be better. But the emotional side of that is the one that's not fixable, because often Mom or Dad are just still going to cave, right? They're going to give the money to them. They're going to say, they need my help. That is the most difficult thing, is to change mom or dad's mindset out of this. You've got to stop giving money to them because you need it for yourself. And this exact same thing happened to me, Annmarie. I don't know if I told you that, but when I was taking care of my brother-in-law, and she was not a vampire, it's just that my brother-in-law was a super kind guy. He just wanted to help his kids as much as he could. And so he offered of his own volition to pay his daughter's mortgage, every single month. And he was fine. That was fine while he was his own man and working and whatever. But when it came time for him to be in a personal care, assisted living, nursing home situation, I had to make him stop. And she was not the problem. He was the problem. Because I said, you cannot do this anymore. You need this money for your care.
And he wanted to keep doing it even though he was the one who needed all the extra care. Exactly.
So sometimes you even have a child who's not the problem.
Yeah.
It's the parent who's the problem,
Yeah, and I've, Cathy, I've said it to people before that when like they're giving money to their kid and they're giving money, because I've been involved in stuff like this a lot, I said, the kindest thing you can do to your kid for your kid is to secure your own retirement, so that never do you need to depend on them for any piece of that, except, the actual caregiving for mom and dad, the actual love part.
And how about that? Because, I've told you before that we have this filial support law that's sort of floating around in Pennsylvania that says if somebody wants to sue you as a child of a destitute nursing home parent, if a nursing home wants to sue you, so far they can, and they might win.
That's right. That did happen. I remember you saying that one time, that some nursing homes sued the parents who, when the mother, wasn't it that the mother came out of the nursing home and then they went, they went back to their homeland and they sued the kid.
Correct. Yeah, sued the kid for $93,000. And the court decided because he made $80,000 a year, he could afford a $93,000 nursing home bill.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I know.
That's really hard.
Yeah, really hard.
So, Cathy, listen, so many women are starting a second or third career in their lives, and victory chicks like us are taking what they've learned in our jobs and they're doing something different with it. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's that we did a job and we were good at that job, but now we don't want to retire. We want to do, we want to do more things that satisfy our soul and get paid for it. What are some of the things that we as women need to be thinking about if we're in that position?
And it's so exciting. It's an exciting time for us, isn't it? We babies
it really
women.
is.
We are just doing some fun and wonderful things. And P.S., just as a little aside, I was out with my niece last night, and she's reading your book, and she's loving it.
It's so nice of you to say. Thank you, Cathy.
That 5-year marriage is making inroads in the young crowd. So just
Yay.
So you know. So anyway, what should we do? Well, obviously we should do the things we already talked about. Get those powers of attorney in line, because something can happen to you. Get your legal documents in order, and also look at your savings. It's never too late to save. It's never too late to be smart about that. It's never too late to downsize and move money into savings areas so that you have money for that, if that's something that concerns you. And it's never too late if you're in a good marriage to start balancing that money, even if you're on your second or third career. Hopefully that second or third career is going to put you in the financial driver's seat. But the great thing about this article that says, 10 things that women need to know is that women are actually getting more educated about their finances and saving and
that's
retirement.
Great. That's good stuff.
I just want you to know, women, yes, prepare for retirement. Yes, prepare for death. But my message is prepare for that typhoon in between, because that's what you're not paying attention to.
And that's what we Victory Chicks need to get a little smarter about, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Cathy, you have some fun stuff coming up, and you're doing a retreat. Tell us about that.
I know. I'm so excited. It's for St. Gabriel's Church, Episcopal Women, and it's in a place called Mary Walls, which is outside of Reading, Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful retreat house with paths and gardens and whatever. And we're doing a 3-day retreat on faith, family, friends, and foresight. So all of the things you and I talked about today, actually. And I'm very excited, although I said to them, why you're putting me in charge of your spiritual journey is a little scary. But okay, I will take the challenge.
I think they picked a good person, because I would trust you, Cathy.
Well, you're very sweet, and it's going to be great. I mean, the women that I'm talking to who are in charge, we're just having so much fun planning it, and it's 3 wonderful days of just, talking about important things and getting to know each other and having some foresight about our future. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's in May. Yeah.
That's really good. So send me that information. I'll put it on the radio wrap-up so my listeners can click on it and see where, if they can do it. Reading's not so far.
Left. Yeah, there's a few seats left. So if they're interested, that would be fantastic. I'd love to meet them.
Yeah, and that sounds so nice to be away for 3 days with no phone, no people around, and I mean not no people, but no responsibility stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great, Cathy. I'm so glad that you came to Happy Hour today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Annmarie. It's always a pleasure and always lots of fun.
Yep, same on my end. And there's information about who moved my teeth on today's radio wrap-up. And send me the information about the retreat, and I'll post that also. Okay, thanks, Cathy. And to you Victory Chicks and you guys, I hope you have something good to do this weekend. And if you're looking for something, you can join me at beautiful and historic Thornbury Farm right here in Westchester. And I'm doing a bridal fair there from 1 to 4 p.m. I've never done an event like that, but I'm curious to see how it goes. So it'll be me and about 20 other vendors, each one covering a different aspect of the wedding. And, of course, the 5-year marriage isn't about the wedding. It's about what happens after the wedding. Well, but, not right after the wedding, but when the wedding's over and the happy bride and groom go back to being that regular guy and girl down the street who have to get up for work, clean the house, pay the bills, deal with the in-laws, all the stuff of real life that weddings seem to ignore. Like any of those conflicts will simply work themselves out by magic, when the wedding's over. But you and I know nothing in marriage works like magic. It takes time and planning and patience. In fact, I was reading one of the books by Ruth Graham, spouse of the late Reverend Billy Graham, and he was very true to the standard of his day, the 1940s and 50s. Billy Graham was a bit chauvinistic, but Ruth Graham is what I would call an early feminist, because she was having none of that man rules the roost stuff. And she said that marriage is about a partnership between two good forgivers. And that always makes me laugh, because you do have to do a lot of forgiving. Anyway, about the bridal fair. That Thornbury Farm, did you know that dates back to 1709 and it's still a working farm today? Well, anyway, I met Merrill Johnston a couple of weeks ago at our bed and breakfast, Fawnbrook, that great, also historic place. And she owns delightful desserts and culinary creation events for classic catering. She invited me to join them tomorrow. So I posted the information on today's radio wrap-up, and it's not quite up, but it'll be up in just about an hour. If you know Thornbury Farms off Birmingham Road, and it's near the Birmingham Quaker Meeting House, come by tomorrow and say hello to me, and hopefully the sun will shine on us. It's time for us to go, and And my quote today is from the fabulous Helen Mirren, who said, "The great marriages are partnerships. It can't be a great marriage without being a partnership." And I agree with her. Thanks for joining me today. Please come back again next Friday for the Friday Happy Hour with me, Annmarie Kelly, and I'll talk to you then. Jen's on.
Thanks for listening to this Friday Happy Hour. Make sure you subscribe, rate and review today's show. And join us again next week for the Friday Happy Hour with Annmarie Kelly. 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 The Friday Happy Hour with Annmarie